Today we're going to be using the Nike Dunk Low Brazils to form a three-part video, and that three-part video is going to come in part one, where we look at three different Nike Dunk Low colorways that are dropping over the next 4 weeks, starting with those Brazils, following that up with the University Reds, and finally the Champ color. So those three colorways coming over the next 4 weeks is part one of the video. Part two, we're going to talk about whether or not a retro needs to have a change from the OG for it to be, I don't know, valid is maybe the word that I'm looking for. If it's identical to the OG, what's the point? Doesn't it have to have a little change in there? And then finally, at the end of the video, what we're going to do is look in detail at this upcoming release of the Nike Dunk Low Brazils in particular, because that's the one that's coming out first of the three, and that we've got the close-up images of and the first official images of. So without further ado, let's get into this video that's centered around the Nike Dunk Low Brazil. This is the Talking About a 23 Sneaker channel, Talking About a 23 Sneaker channel des.毎日アップするので、毎日見てください. Every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And today what we're doing is using the upcoming release of the Nike Dunk Low Brazils to talk about retros, to talk about the three colorways that are coming out, and to look at the shoe itself. Now, I very carefully said Nike Dunk Lows because a couple of days ago when I was reviewing and looking at the Comme des Garçons, I called that the SB Dunk Low, just one moment. It's like, oops, it's not an SB Dunk Low, it's just a Dunk Low. And these guys here today are just a Dunk Low as well, not an SB Dunk Low. And for my money, if we look at the Dunk line, SB Dunk line, SB Dunk Highs, SB Dunk Lows, all of that mixed in together. For me right now, the high side of things is kind of innovative, and they're taking their time to sort of bring out interesting and unique colorways. If we look at the reverse skunks that are behind me here, which dropped recently, and that was a retro of the original skunks, but reversed, so the colorway was completely the opposite. And then also we had a look at the, I called them the cheap cigars, but they didn't actually have an official name yet. They were just like Sail and Varsity Red colorway or something along those lines. But again, it's the original cigars, and then you had those, the updated version of them. So the highs have got a kind of a vibe about them that's sort of innovative and taking interesting, looks, a different perspective at the shoes. But the lows, for my money, are split into two categories these days. Either it's an interesting colorway, Ben & Jerry's, 7-Eleven, some kind of collaboration with a big name. If you think about the Travis Scotts, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there that's really sort of collaboration, interesting, sort of off the wall, or the other end of the spectrum where it's a really solid Dunk Low or SB Dunk Low colorway in that very, very standard silhouette and very, very standard colorway. And that's what we've got today. And like I said, we had those Comme des Garçons 2 days ago, which is definitely the other end of the spectrum, that heavy collaboration with a really interesting take on the shoe at one end, and then the other end is what we're doing today, looking at those Brazils, looking at those University Reds, and looking at those Champ colors. And I said, let's see, I said we'd do three things today, and the first thing was to look at, did I say the first thing we do is look at all three colors that are coming up? So May 21st is the drop for the Brazils, and you should be able to see them behind me here on the green screen if you can get around my barnet. It's driving me nuts how much hair I have on top of my head right now, but we're in lockdown light, which is maybe going to get semi-lifted soon, and hopefully I can get out there and get my hair cut. I tend to have like, shaved all over, not to the bone, there's still a bit of rug up there, but this much is, driving me nuts. But if you can see past that, you should be able to see the first of the three, which is the Brazils, and they're coming out on May the 21st. And then on June the 12th, I guess that's about 3 weeks later, we'll get the Varsity Reds. And the one thing I wanted to sort of point out between the Brazils, the Varsity Reds, and the Champ colors is that the two sort of bookmarks, the Brazils and the Champ colors, are three colors in there, specifically because white is the third color. So you've got yellow, green, and white for the Brazils, and then you've got a deep blue, is it a deep blue and orange for the Champ colors with the white on the midsole. But then if you go to the middle of those two, which is the Varsity Reds, because it's a red and white colorway, then there's no third color on there. So that's the kind of distinct sort of difference between the three, whereas you've got the May 21st Brazils in three colors with the white outsole and white laces to give you that, and also some branding and details, which we'll look at later in the video. Then that two color Varsity Red on May the 12th, and then on May the 24th you get those Champ color guys coming up. And I was going to say, I think that was what I said. I said we'd look at part one was look at those three upcoming releases from the Nike Dunk Low line, and how, to me, they're very standard silhouettes, very standard colorways, which is that one side of the spectrum I'm talking about. Whereas on the other end, where you've got these collaborations and really unique colorways. That's not what these three in particular are looking at. And then part two, I said we'd talk about, is a retro if it's the same? And the reason that I'm asking that is because as far as I can tell, the Brazils, which is the main point of this video today, is very much the 2001 sneaker, just repeated. It doesn't seem to be much difference as far as I'm concerned. Now, 2001 was a long time ago, it was 19 years ago, and of course I don't have a memory of what was happening 19 years ago with the Dunk Low line, but I do have a computer and I do have Google, as we all do, and I checked it out and I saw on StockX these guys are still going for $1,000 in the OG 2001 colorway or silhouette, and I just had as close a look as possible I could, and I couldn't see a single difference to this upcoming release of the 2020s. Not a single thing. I really looked, even down to the stitching that you can see where the swoosh kind of blends in with the overlays towards the midfoot section there, because they're green and the yellow stitching on there stands out. Yes, yellow stitching on 2001. Yes, yellow stitching in 2020. But what we need to do is we need to look at the insole of the sorry, I was just distracted. I thought my little girl had woken up there. If that ever happens, it hasn't happened yet. Fingers crossed, touch wood, she hasn't come in and wrecked all this, because it's right now it's 11:50 at night and she's asleep, but me doing this could wake her up. But anyway, what we need to take a look at is the Nike Jordan 6 DMP pack, and the reason we need to do that is because it was almost identical to its original drop, which I think was 2006. I can't remember now though. I might have that wrong, but if I do have it wrong, nobody really cares. But the original, maybe 2004. Anyway, the original DMP Jordan 6s, because there was two in that pack, I think Jordan 11s was the other one, the Jordan 6s and the 2020s were almost identical, but there's one detail on there. If we look at the insole of the 2020s, you can see, looking down on the the insole, you can see it says 2020 in there, which it didn't obviously say on the OG pair. So there you've got something to differentiate between the two sneakers. And then coming back to these 2020 Nike Dunk Low Brazils, the thing is I can't see a difference. I really can't. Now I might be missing something obvious, or I might be missing something that dunk heads out there know, and you can tell me in the comments down below, but from where I'm sitting it's exactly the same sneaker. And then the question is, what's the point? Aren't the people who have held on to that original Dunk Low going to be really irritated that 19 years later what they've held on to is like the jewel in their collection has suddenly been retroed exactly? Couldn't they have reversed the detailing or the color in a certain place? And I did say the third part of this video would be taking a close-up look at the elements of this Brazil Dunk Low, so we might as well do that and start in the heel. Now I think I'm right in saying the heel has yellow branding on there, and a shout out to my friends at Pint of Stuff channel who love their Dunk Lows, and particularly that Nike branding on the back there where the E doesn't quite fit, and it just sort of tapers off on there. But I think the Nike writing is in yellow, if I remember rightly, and a green panel, and it was the same on those 2001 variants. That would have been a place to switch it up to mark the difference between the two. Make it a yellow panel with green writing on the front of it. Or if you come across to the tongue on these 2020s, you can see that I think it's a green detailing on a white tongue tab on a yellow tongue. So you've got all three colorways, all three colors of this silhouette or this colorway in the tongue there, on the tongue tab and the tongue itself, but it's identical to what happened in 2001. Again, why didn't they just switch that up and make it, say, a green tongue tab with a white bit of branding on the top of there? And then I already kind of mentioned it, looking at the side of the sneaker, which is where a lot of the character is, in that yellow and green offsetting against each other, especially when you look at the swoosh and the stitching in there. And I talked about how the stitching in yellow and the green swoosh on the side, how they contrast against each other. And I mean, maybe that's a small, tiny detail that they could have come with, where they changed up the colour of that stitching to green. Small little thing there. But for me, there really isn't much to differentiate this from the original drop 19 years ago. And I wonder if that's perhaps a loss. I wonder if that's something that is a chance missed, or, if you think about especially Nike sneakers, and especially specific Nike sneakers like Jordans and Dunks and things like that, that get retroed down the years. If you look at I looked very closely at the Bread 4s that they have dropped 5 times so far, and the first, second and fifth ones are very, very similar, but the third and fourth ones were different, especially on the heel, because they had different heel branding on there. But that difference, even though it's the same silhouette and the same colorway, the Bread 4, that difference helps to delineate and mark each one out as unique, and it doesn't devalue the previous ones. But I think bringing out exactly the same sneaker devalues the original ones as well, and it doesn't give anything unique to the new ones. So you're kind of losing twice. Whoever's got the OGs is losing a bit because they're being devalued because the market's been saturated a little bit more with exactly the same shoe, and then whoever's buying this new one is like, well, you know, this isn't a unique shoe. This doesn't have a special sort of place in the encyclopedia of shoes, because it's exactly the same shoe that dropped 19 years ago or whenever. So for me, a retro, it should have some kind of like difference or change, a little unique bit in there, just to say this is the one from first, this is the second, third or fourth or whatever. And I don't see that on these upcoming Brazils. I might be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'm always happy to hear about that in the comments down below, so please do let me know. Final thing to say about these guys though is they are a very clean sneaker, very standard dunk low colorway. The silhouette's very simple. I talked 2 days ago with that Comme des Garçons about how, because they didn't use leathers in the upper, it gave it a sort of flatter look, and it kind of made it look a bit like a clown shoe because it was sort of flatter and stretched out. But because this is all leathers, it's got that standard kind of dunk low silhouette, and also the standard color blocking, because it's not a collaboration or anything like that. It's got the standard color blocking and 3 colors on there, with the white in that midsole that I talked about. Also up there, I said on the extra bit of white on the branding that comes on that tongue tab, and then the white laces as well there. I don't know if they come with other colors of laces. I kind of hope they do. I hope they have yellow and green in there as well. It would be kind of interesting to play around with that. My preference would probably be with the yellow against the green. I think the green might be too much, but you know, we'll wait and see what happens on March 21st when these guys drop. And that's my video today, my 3-part video. Hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you've got a perspective on it, and maybe you want to add some comments to let me know what you think about this kind of sneaker, and what you think about my take on this kind of sneaker. But for now, it's time for me to just chip off. You know, I've said in many of my videos recently, I'm not used to doing videos like the day before. I usually do them a few days before. I make 3 or 4 videos and then drop them over a few days and kind of bulk do it. But because of this lockdown and shooting at home, it means I have to do it one day at a time. So literally I've got less than 24 hours to get this video all, you know, tied up with a bow and up onto YouTube so you guys can be watching it. Fingers crossed that'll work, and it'll keep working, because I'm doing this every single day. And you know what? Because I do this every single day, that means that you guaranteed to see me tomorrow.